intuition is a big thing. Like if you see that free internet anywhere, nothing is free in this universe. So if you see something free, let's not connect that. And if you're at the hotel, you can ask the hotel reception, what is that, like your internet? Make sure like you use the password protection one. Don't use that free version.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ABA Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you by 3Pi². I'm April.
And I'm Steven.
Well,
hey, Nandy.
This is Nandy here. Nandy is, should I say? He's a new affiliate with 3Pi². And we've had the great opportunity to get to know Nandy over the last few months, and he's helped us on some of our projects, and he's already been helping out some of you ABA business leaders out there. And it's been a joy and pleasure to get to know Nandy. He kind of helps for me, he helps for HIPAA to not feel so overwhelming. So, all right. Well, this continues our Back to Basics series. This is where we go back to the foundations of running an ABA business, whether you're dreaming about starting a company, already running one, or you're preparing for what's next. And we'll meet you where you are. So each episode, we focus on one core business topic and talk about what it means if you're starting, scaling, or transitioning. So no matter where you are in your journey, you'll walk away with clarity and next steps. And as I already kind of alluded to, today's topic is HIPAA.
Yeah.
Please don't stop the podcast. I promise you, you'll have a lot of fun here. We're just going to have conversation and chit chat about all the stuff and things. Just as always, there's so many details and so much information. There's no way we could cover it in, less than an hour. And so, this is just to get the conversation started. And so, we will try our best to keep it somewhat exciting and not put anyone to sleep. So. All right, Nandy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I am Nandy, and I've been in cybersecurity space, and especially in Microsoft area. And I've been like a veteran in Microsoft as well. Done a bunch of years with the Microsoft and Dell, and decided to do full-time consultant post-COVID. And since then, I keep helping small and medium businesses stay secure and building the infrastructures, and a lot of work I do is a back-end infrastructure stuff. So a lot of plumbing work. That's your O365. Azure, and also I do a lot of work with the AWS and the Google Workspace area as well, because all of that stuff is needed, right? What you can see, what you cannot see, that's basically the holistic approach needed. So my job typically talk to the business owners and see where is the gaps are, and make it non-technical as possible, and go through with them, basically design what they have and prepare what they can have, like a target infrastructure, target architect, or target design, and work through with them. And I'm a full-time consultant, freelancer. And basically, I feel very, very much pleasure out of it. Actual now, post corporate life. Now I actually work and make it happen. What I pick up and run with it and get it done with it, right? And that's why, I do a lot of compliance activity. HIPAA is one of them. But other than HIPAA, I do a SOC 2, PCI DSS. You name it, I do it. Like basically cybersecurity guys, they are hands on all kind of those compliance stuff because like this is the results people want, right?
It's still so wild to me. Like the whole world of cybersecurity is so like, it just blows my mind. Like it's just so vast and so complicated. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around it. So I have so much respect for you guys in the space for sure. Why don't we start out by just helping us to understand HIPAA? Like just, I don't know. Is there like, I don't know if there's a simple definition, but what does HIPAA mean? Like, what is HIPAA? What is this HIPAA word that we keep throwing around here? And people are like, oh, you need to understand HIPAA when you're starting a healthcare business, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is first of all, what is the HIPAA? It's a Health Insurance for Portability and the Accountability Act. That's actually sliced into two parts. One is your privacy part, another one the security part. So it's a bunch of rules, really. Like a lot of people actually get confused. Okay, is that a software? It is not a software. Or sometimes they think if I actually sign up the ABB agreement, is that everything happens? It doesn't happen. Like we need to make those things happen. So your privacy, when you're talking about, you have a bunch of PHI, all of those related data and stuff like that. You need to make sure, like you know how to handle it, and you need to have some fencing around it, like how you actually protect those data, right? And then you actually have a security area. So all of those data which is related to PHI, how you fencing them. This is basically mean. And also you need to document that to make sure somebody not coming from within your ecosystem understand what you're actually doing. That's your auditors. That's basically it. Very high level speaking.
Right. So I get, we talked to a lot of new BCBA business owners, and they're like, okay, well, I got Microsoft 365 through GoDaddy. I'm HIPAA compliant. I'm good, right? And so when someone comes to you, because BCBAs are not it's for the same reason they don't they don't have a foundational grasp on business. Sometimes they're not meant to, right? They help kids. They do Absolutely. The part of the work that I could never do, right? Yeah. And so, we kind of stick to our lanes, and BCBAs knowing this is outside of their scope is something that they're very good at. And so, what do you do when you have a new company coming to you and they don't really have a fundamental grasp on the risk involved? Because that's really the biggest thing, right? Is the risk involved in starting a practice without having these foundational layers in place.
I mean, typically what really happened when any kind of new businesses comes, I let them talk. Like it's not necessary they need to be a technical person, but like they can talk about their universe. So they will say, hey, we are just, like we have a 5 or 10, we're doing this, and everybody excited about talk about themselves. So let them talk about what they're actually going and doing very well. I totally be with you. What they're doing is amazing stuff, and and I'm so happy people are doing so great stuff, and making it happen. The things with those plumbing I mentioned previously. It's just very complicated because all of the dots, you need to understand this and that. But the good news is when people talk, they will say, okay, I started with the GoDaddy, and GoDaddy offered us with the O365, or I started with the Gmail because it's a very cheap Google Workspace. I just needed a bunch of laptops, and somebody said Google actually can be HIPAA compliant, or somebody said Microsoft also does the same thing, and it's great. And then let them talk, and then what you use it for other stuff. Okay, I have a bunch of phones, bunch of laptops. I have this platform. I have this a messaging system. I have that like in, booking systems. These are all of that stuff. Let them talk. And the whole idea is I need to understand. I don't need to know technology. I need to understand how's your universe. Right. So then I can simplify. Okay, platform, by definitions, they are HIPAA supported by HIPAA stuff, because when you have Microsoft also have the infrastructure, Microsoft they have their backend, Google has their backend, they are by definitions compliant. That doesn't mean what is he putting inside they're compliant to, because that's where their boundaries are, right? So you need to take that compliance to your own universe. So when you actually have things with the GoDaddy will say, okay, I'll give you a basic Microsoft Exchange and stuff like that, but there is no security. That's where people say, oh, what I'm going to do now, I need to figure out the other stuff. So that's why I need to explain to them. You don't need to make it complicated. We can still stay with GoDaddy. But as you actually have a Microsoft, we can defederate that. So you're not going to lose any emails or any kind of stuff. So you can come to the Microsoft. And from there, we can use Microsoft full features, such as encryptions, data classifications, and all of this, manage and all of that stuff. Then what you have currently, we can adapt that, and then we can put some fencing around. Like I mentioned, that your all of the PHI data, like date of birth, name, session notes, billing, insurance notes, and all of that stuff. So we need to make sure these are all classified. HIPAA is all about classifying the data and put some fencing. How far those data going, and do you have an understanding who is opening those data? Are they authorized or not? Something along that line. Okay. So most of the businesses, when they talk, that can be Google, that can be Microsoft. Idea is understand what they have and give them a vision. Okay, now we need to go through that journey, and it's not going to impact you much. It's going to take you next 6 months. So let's say, as we get into, if you're already in a Microsoft, you already have the Microsoft account and stuff like that. Do you have a MFA in place? Do you have your devices are encrypted or not? Do you have how your staff training look like? Typically husband and wife, or another employee or something, how's your training looks like? Do you have any documentation? So this different customer comes in a different kind of situation, a different kind of technology also. But the idea is just explain to them at a high level what you're using. We can capture that, and we can move a little bit further and improve that situation as we progress. So that's pretty much how those conversation goes. Yeah.
And so, I mean, everybody listening to this should have all of their devices encrypted, I assume, right? That's a no-brainer, would you say?
I mean, I see only out of so far, I see only 10 to 20% people actually understand the proper encryption, what they mean. So, it's difficult already to put the email encryption there. So sometime when people send the encrypted email, the receiver side, they say, our email system is not working. Your email system is not working. You know why? Because instead of I can read your email, I can say big box, and I need to click on that thing and verify the OTP and stuff. What is this? Email system is not working. So this kind of stuff, a lot of people don't have proper understanding encryptions, auto encryptions, and also the device, right? Once you actually have the properly device managed and the protected, the idea is any data flows, we have a better clarity of where is that data generated, and any point of time they say auditable, clarity there. So encryption is still pretty low in terms of the uptake, so it's still taking a lot of time.
Right. so something that a lot of smaller, especially in-home ABA practices do is that, there are two things. So they may allow their employees to use their own phones to log into their practice management software to take session notes or get texts from parents or things like this. The other thing, if they are providing devices, is some of them are allowing their employees to log on to the family's Wi-Fi to do their work. And so, do you have, is it just no, you can't use someone else's Wi-Fi if you don't know it's what router, when's it been updated last, or is there a safe way to use Wi-Fi even if you don't know how it's set up?
Great question. There's a two version of it, a maniac like me and who takes security at a different level.
Right.
I take my mobile router anywhere. I actually own Connect, regardless how secure it is. Unless I'm using my own, I don't trust anybody. I literally put zero trust, and start from my own situation. Nobody need to do that. I have that allergy, so I had to deal with it. So, but the idea is, when we're talking about the HIPAA and any kind of privacy related data, you need to use your device, protected device. So what does that mean? If your device is managed by Intune, let's call it Microsoft, or let's call it Google. Google works with, they also has a device management in place. All of this platform has their own device management. So if your device are managed, if your mobile is managed, the idea is any kind of data transmissions happening within, you are actually using encrypted emails and stuff like that. You at a high level, you're secure. Okay. Obviously, if you connecting a very insecure internet connection from the coffee shops and all of the hotels and stuff like that, first of all, if you feel like, I tell my wife also, intuition is a big thing. If you see that free internet anywhere, nothing is free in this universe. So if you see something free, let's not connect that. And if you're at a hotel, you can ask the hotel reception, what is that, your internet? Make sure you use that password protection one. Don't use that free version. And this is how I go. I don't use any public internet, such as stations and all of that stuff. If I'm in, if somebody has to have connected, that means you need to know who you connecting. At least you verify that by human verification. So that's what important. And if you are out and about, it's cost you almost nothing to buy a mobile internet. And you can carry something I use, something like this. It looks like a bulky one, but it goes everywhere with me. So you put this thing in your bag, and good thing is you can charge your mobile phone with it, because most of those things actually comes with a battery. So just additional gear with you, and this it's a totally secure. And then also on the top of it, your device are protected. Device are managed by the Google, your own tenant, something along that line. So in case does happen, you should be able to investigate what kind of things happening. So yeah, just basic security, yeah. And not to mention that you gotta use MFA. When you actually out and about, if you don't have MFA, it's what's really happening. If something's happen from your device situations, somebody will have access to your emails and stuff like that. So you need to also protect your actual data via MFA as much as possible. Enforce MFA everywhere.
Okay. And so MFA being multi-factor authentication, is that correct?
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Multi-factor, yeah.
Right. But now, so what about, okay, their tinfoil hat is not as tight as yours, let's say. What would you like? Can we use this Starbucks free Wi-Fi to upload my report to Optum? Because I have VPN, so I'm fine, right? Like, I'm protected. Like, how do you feel about that? Is that enough, or should they try to find some kind of better system in place?
Yeah, I mean, if you actually have your own VPN on the top of like like a local cafe shops, internet, that's also gives you an extra layer of protection. The best approach is make sure your device, like all of those communications are going through the encrypted channel. Like if your device is nicely managed and stuff like that, your Outlook is having MFAs and all of that stuff. So all of those data in transit are encrypted in general. So definitely, if you can use your Wi-Fi if you have to, and plus try to use any software-based VPN if you can on the top of that. That also gives you a additional layer of protections.
Yeah, so there was one VPN this was a couple of years back, right? It was very popular because it was free, right? And it was like what you said, right? Free, and that's not free, right? It's costing you something. And so, it was the obvious, like after about 6 months of this free VPN being very popular, it was found out that they were taking the data and selling it to people so that it was just a big scheme. And so, like, is there any VPN if, like, okay, we have to do this, right? We can't afford cell service for every one of our individual employees. What's next best? Like, is there a VPN that you would recommend that be on the top of their list? I
personally use Surf VPN, like Surf as a surfing. That they seems like and have like a lot of good servers everywhere. Like that's so like they have a lot of servers everywhere in US, so quality is very good. And if you're going outside US, if you can connect, if you want to use US services, it's very good. Like, depends on where you are. You can connect East Coast, West Coast, should be good. But again, like with the small businesses, if they're going through, if they actually have some sort of a business services that offers device to be protected. So as long as they actually manage those devices nicely. So let's say Microsoft has a Microsoft Intune. Mm-hmm. Google Workspace also have the similar version, Google Managed. As long as those devices are fully managed, I think and obviously like MFA enforce,
yep.
I think you have a pretty decent safety there. Okay. You don't, as long as you see not connecting any random wireless connections, and just make sure you always connect any wireless if you need to connect Starbucks where they are protected by passwords, because those if you're connecting by password, that means they have some sort of a security in place.
Right.
Just saying
something. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if they just click on some free one that there's no password, it may be that business's Wi-Fi, but it might not be, right? And so that's kind of where you can run into.
Yeah, I mean, I've been work. I was just talking to another guy. Actually, he was a ex-US military, and this guy actually in Morocco, And I was just telling, and he's doing some business, and he's doing something with all kind of disaster recovery stuff, like a natural disaster, hurricanes and stuff like that. He's doing some of the amazing work when he couldn't do that during his normal job at that time. Now he retired, and he's doing so good, like a different kind of thing, which you don't have to like worry about the data sensitiveness but whatsoever. And the context is this guy actually, we're talking about the security. I supposed to do a lot of work for him in the security. And he's saying, like, Nandy, I literally don't care about my security. You know why? Because the place I live right now, you go to thousands of miles, nobody there. So my wireless also don't need to have any security. Right. Because you connect like literally next road, you will be passing by. You won't see that like a signal because nowhere to be found. So, like there is scenarios are there, and I was just like stop talking. I don't want to hear any of that stuff which you're going to say. So that's basically it. Like, if your situations happen happen to that, and you literally out of range from everywhere. So that's best. You don't need to care about the security, but like unfortunately, most of us living without all the devils. So we just need to make sure. Yeah. Give ourselves enough chances, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't even planning on going in this direction, but this does bring up a really good point about a lot of clinicians ask us about having a bring your own device policy.
Yeah, I was just about to bring
is that where you were going? Because
because
it seems like on the surface, it seems like the easy thing to do. Yep. It seems like, okay, I don't have to pay for everyone's devices.
I don't have to pay like $300 or whatever for a device.
Right.
Yeah,
and so they say, well, and I'll just make sure I tell them that they just use Microsoft or they just use the Google Workspace, and then Stephen and I will start asking them a lot of questions that we've learned over the years, and we start to get really curious, and then we start to see the fear and panic come over their faces as they didn't think about things, because the
path of least resistance, right?
We're human, right? We're human, and your typical everyday employee, most of them aren't, including the business owners, aren't thinking of all the dangers and all of the risk that are out there when we're talking about someone using their own personal device and using it for a medical,
Yeah. I mean, they maybe, like, I hope no one's still got Windows 95 on their computer, but right, like they could have an old, outdated computer. A lot of times I will see clinicians, and even like back in the day when I was working as an engineer, like, we would have all the security, and everybody was taking screenshots on their phones, right? On their personal phones, because, it's easier. Now I've got the data right here in front of me. It's like, so if there's an easy way to get through your security, human nature is just, they're going to do it, right? And so, when we have those conversations about what happens in these scenarios, a lot of them are like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that, right? And so now we have an uncontrolled device because maybe it's not encrypted. They don't want us to have a remote wipe capability. They don't want to limit the programs that we need on there. They don't want to have to deal with updating their phone when we ask them, right? And so it just seems, from my perspective at this point, I don't know how you can do a BYOD, bring your own device policy in a healthcare clinic.
Well, even with computers, right? Yes. Because let's say you're using Microsoft and you're asking your clinicians to keep all the reports and data and whatnot, like through OneDrive, like. Okay, all of you listening right now, how many of you in your system, when you're working on a document, are going to drag it into your desktop?
Oh, I know. I know that like there's 90% of you have treatment plans on your desktop right now. I know they do. 100%. 100%. Yep, all of you. Right, you got screenshots of their contact information. You got treatment plans downloaded. You've got session notes that you've downloaded on that computer, authorizations. Right, like totally. Yep.
I mean, like, absolutely. I mean, the when you're talking about the personal devices and HIPAA, the things is you need to track those PHI data, right? So the personal devices, when you don't actually manage them, how you can encrypt those, how you can actually remote wipe those, auditability, how you can actually just have understanding what's actually passing through those devices, how you're going to not mix with the personal and the PHI data, right? Enforcing screen locks and all of that stuff, no local download for a PHI data. How you actually control all of that stuff. This get like really problematic, right? So when someone leaves, typically if you're managing a laptop, which is your environment, when the stuff leaves, you actually wipe that like laptop, all of this like all the PHI data goes away from the phone, from the device, and all of that stuff. On the personal devices, you have no way to enforce that, right? Not to mention about the backups and all of that stuff, to be honest.
Right.
So these are all kind of situations you won't be able to really explain. You won't be able to justify that, like when you're not managing those devices. So HIPAA is not enforcing, like HIPAA is not saying don't use personal device. HIPAA is saying like how you're going to enforce those things, right. Define that, which is impossible. Like the better is you have some time happen, like like a lot of businesses, they will say, hey, we wanted to have those control, but like these guys are work only part time. So how I'm going to justify such a small business to buying that damn devices for them, and then I have to track those, and then it's too much work, and we are not that big enough, right? So I tell them, you can use Microsoft has O365 cloud PC, right? Like the cloud PC is basically they can actually host their one cloud PC, and it will be 24 hours available for them. They can log in, and it's nicely managed by the licensing. And when they go, all you need to do to get rid of the license, and that license can be repurposed. It's almost like a license equal like having a computer, right?
Right.
But not on that like somebody's house. It's on the flying in the cloud.
Yeah. So a virtual computer is better than allowing people to do their own device. Yeah, that's
so with that like virtual computer type thing. Can they download it can they download documents to their desktop? Can they, or are they
virtual computer? Yeah. Virtual computer is basically a cloud computer, and we're going to fence that from the cloud to their own internal device. So it's basically mean you can work with any data within that computer, like as a company managed computer. And there is a like clean line between what the cloud computer and the personal computer mean. So your personal computer, once it is connected to the cloud computer, you work from the cloud computer. You're not supposed to download anything. Not supposed to mean it will block every kind of downloading data to your personal stuff. So that's the way you say it's isolated. Like people literally working in the bubble. Like if they cross that. Or log out, and immediately that that's basically disconnect their session with them, and they have no access, nothing. So that's another way small businesses does. Like they have a couple of licenses, they repurpose those licenses, those cloud PC for multiple people. 3 months, this guy going to work. After that, somebody else going to work in another 3 months, something along that line. So, like your company have a couple of own managed devices, which they actually have their purpose there, and they are fully managed with the O365 or, like in Google, whatever they're using. And the rest of it, they just have a cloud PC. And as this guy or as this person is become full-time, and they getting a laptop.
Mm-hmm. That's great that there is an alternate solution there. So as we're looking at like the starters, so people that are in the midst of starting up their companies, what are some of the first HIPAA steps they should put in place, is this the time to do a risk assessment, or do you even have enough information for a risk assessment?
So step number 1, talk to Nandy. That would be the first step on all, like, I'm serious. It's a little bit of a joke, but like having, we talk about all the time, you need an accountant, right? You need an attorney. Don't start a company. I wouldn't start a hot dog stand without an attorney, right? You have to have somebody in your back pocket so that if something does happen, you've already made that relationship, that connection to somebody that you trust, that is willing to talk to you, that kind of it meets your values. So I would encourage everybody to say, okay, I am going to book a call with Nandy. Just to start, just to like, it don't have to buy any packages, but just to say, hey, I like this podcast. Yeah. It was really enjoyable. I want to be able to talk to this person, right? Like that would be the first thing that you can talk about, Nandy, what you think they should do.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, maybe I'll have the hot dog first. If I like the hot dog, then I'll open that hot dog. That's most solid. But the idea is having I don't know a lot of things with the accounting stuff. I always whenever situations happen with all of this accounting stuff, I'll always talk to this guy, and obviously, like I said, I need to like this guy and have a chat with them, and then all move from there. The whole idea with the technology is it's so many things out there, and everybody has their opinion, and everybody has their own liking, right? I've been dealing with another HIPAA client right now. The things is I'm actually there on a Google Workspace, okay? And we're doing this Google Workspace. Google Workspace is cheaper than Microsoft ecosystem. Great for a startup. The business started with the Google Workspace, which is great. And I got involved, and I actually started doing all the controls. I started putting the controls and all of the policies and all of that stuff in place. And fortunately, they have somebody in their family, also an IT dude, and middle of the HIPAA situations, they are planning to hire a IT director. And I'm having a chat with this family friends, and initially they started with the HIPAA because HIPAA started with the Google because it's easy, cheap, and all of that stuff. Now they're thinking, can they go to Microsoft or what is that needed? And I was just asking, we spend all of our time and last 2 or 3 months setting up all the controls, all the boundaries, and all of those documentations and all of that stuff now. And now this new person going to join, and because this person is kind of a managerial sort of a thing, they are growing, right? And they're saying, okay, Microsoft is great. Microsoft is the way to go. And I heard that, I worked with a couple of businesses before. I managed it, and they're all Microsoft. So we need to go to the Microsoft. What I asked them, is that technology we are talking, or is that your preference we are talking?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So some management has their own comfort with some sort of a leaning into some technology. And that goes with using Windows laptop versus Mac laptop, right? So, we just need to, as a technical, we just need to take these things off from our head, what we like or what we don't like. What they have, can we do something with it? And whatever they're running currently using, is that already their platform? Like I said, are they using a infrastructure which you already aligned with the HIPAA? In this case, I told them, you don't need to move from the Google Workspace. We can, for a Microsoft laptop, we can use put a single sign-on as a backend, so people actually using Microsoft in the future. You're going to have a bunch of C-suites. They're most probably going to like Microsoft stuff. We're going to give them some Microsoft laptops, but the rest of it, just keep all of the Google Chrome device. They are cheap and they work with the Google Workspace, and we can manage them, and business can grow in that way. And remember, next time when somebody come and request new fancy gear, we need to stop that. We need to just say, okay, we are following this. We just following those certain structural approach. So as you grow, you're not going to have 20 different IT guys need to hire to manage isolated those ecosystems. So we need to have that discussions right from the start. Okay, what's your journey would look like now? You're 10-person, army, if you go to the 50 or 200 and beyond, if you go wrong direction and start with, you're going to dig a big hole. And that's the idea, not to create that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when because we had a whole, with my wife's practice, we had April's practice, I think it was OMD for text messaging. We had InGuard for our email and calendars. We had Dropbox for our storage, right? And it was just a mess of apps, right? And so I'm all Apple all the time. So I was like, obviously I'm not. I remember Microsoft Vista. That was horrible. I'm not getting Microsoft 365. So we were going to get Google. And I got this was years ago. This was 6-7 years ago, I think.
Maybe 8.
Yeah, it was a while ago. And so, we got somebody like you, Nandy, right? Because I wasn't going to do it, right? I saw the white paper. No, that's beyond my level of skill. So, he started implementing the system, and I kept on telling him, well, we want this, we want that. And he was like, you're not going to like Google. You're just not. You really need to try Microsoft 365. And I was like, no way, right? And so, again, a month went by and he's setting this up and it doesn't do this and it doesn't. And so I was like, okay, fine. Let's just go to 365. And so it's been wonderful. And I know
from a staff perspective of we really talk about supporting your staff and they're already doing the hard job. How can we help, make their support them to make their job easier. Right. And so during that couple of years of adding on all of these apps and switching back and forth, they were getting really, really annoyed because nobody knew what to do with what and how to send what. And, so during that time frame, and this was also years ago in technology world, it was it feels like decades ago in technology, but, so what were they doing? Just using their personal phones as a workaround because all of this system was too complicated, right? So I'm just going to text with my phone to this family. Well, then that's even worse than some of the systems we had in place before we tried to fix everything. So I guess that's what we're take our lesson from us. There are things that are great to learn as you go and learn on your own. And then there are things that it's great to reach out to an expert in the area for sure.
Yeah. And I assume Google has now, offering a lot of the things like you said, right? They have their own device management system now, on a parity level, in your opinion. If you're okay, I don't have either system right now, and I'm debating whether I should go with Google or I should go with Microsoft, do you think that, can they go wrong with either one? Are they both going to basically give them the same amount of protection? What is your opinion on it?
The idea is being HIPAA compliant and also being productive. That's a two different thing.
Right.
Microsoft is a pioneers of creating so many good productivity tools. All of this ecosystem, if you see out there, developers are developing the tools, the apps, all based on Microsoft Windows. Microsoft Windows connecting, now Microsoft working with the Microsoft Windows, also a extension of the cloud product, what they have. That's your Office 365, all of those products are cloud product, right? So, like the whole idea of being compliant, being somewhat secure, and then you have like hundreds of staff or whoever, how many staff you have, are you making them productive enough? So you need to make that decisions as a holistic way, right? The platforms are supported, like with the HIPAA compliant. Okay, you can actually have Google, and you can be HIPAA compliant. You can use Microsoft. You can actually have HIPAA compliant. It's not like a bar is super high. It's not that. Like, you just need to think about the S for security, secure accounts, T for training staff, and E for encrypted devices and all of that stuff, P for protecting data stuff. So it's basically, if you actually cover the 4 pillars, somehow or other you're going to have the HIPAA compliant. But is that the journey we are talking here? We are talking here, okay, a successful business going to have enough tools around automations and all of that stuff. That's built on the top. We are not even talking about the HIPAA at that stage. Can we put like a lot of automations? Can we put a lot of tools, which is like a reduce, a lot of human touch, like make it a lot of like things, which is like AI can do so a lot, like things with a lot of daily sort of situations. Can we use Outlook in a more efficient way? Can we actually use Microsoft Teams in a more efficient way? Can we use SharePoint, use the SharePoint library in a different way? Can we actually use that as your like as a system which will be customer facing as well? So we need to think beyond. That's what typical business won't be thinking, like when they're choosing those platforms. They won't be thinking productive. They will be thinking, okay, cheap, and I want to get things going, and what is the user friendly? I can get things started without need a IT individual, because it's just too difficult. IT guys are at that stage is not cheap, right? When you go into this medium to like in a medium-sized business, then you can actually ask for MSP. They can do a audit. They will have a bunch of discussion. They will talk about like this is where you need to go. But this is not. They comes at a cost, right? So these are the problems.
Yeah, I have a BCBA. She knows who I'm talking about her right now. We have Microsoft, right? And so she was making a document, and she said, I hate Word and I hate Excel. So she made it in Google and then transferred it over to PowerPoint, and like that she just had to do it that way. So yeah, I mean, that's probably a really important point, right? If you don't like that system, you probably should go with the other one then, right? And we can set it up so that it's safe and secure no matter what. So there needs to be preference need to be taken into that as well. Okay. And I have two, because we're coming up, we have 10 minutes, so we didn't get anywhere near.
I know, but good news is Nandy's part of our team. And so we have access to have these chats all along for sure.
But there are two big things, Nandy, if you don't mind just hitting on them real quick, is there like a popular kind of device that you would recommend? I know you said Chromebooks for Google. That makes sense. But if you are going on the 365 side of things, is there a device that you would recommend that is affordable, but it can be very effective for productivity?
Yeah. The good news is you can go to any Amazon, or you can go to another local shops, buy a device, which is a Windows 11 Pro. Okay. And you can buy that anything with the Windows 11 Pro license. That's also means like the device actually support encryption, something along that line, underline plumbing situation. You can use them. But like I tell customer this, to be productive, you need to have at least 8 giga of RAM. Okay, so 8 to 16 giga of RAM, that's a bare minimal. You need to be productive. It's not like, giving them some device. You want them to, they can open Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, it takes a lot of memory out. So they need to use the Outlook. They need to use bunch of like an Edge browser stuff, and anything else. They need to be productive. So as you're buying any laptop, you need to make sure that has enough memory. So personal preference, I would say 16 gig, and the SSD for a hard drive. It's just like if your hard drive is slow, hard drive not going to work. Right. So SSD, you have like nowadays 500 gig. It's almost all the machines comes with it. So if you have that, and if your Windows license or Windows 11 Pro, I think you are in a good space. So that's we are talking about. Like, and if you're starting up, you just need a machine that going to be a future HIPAA protected. Just think basic. As you're growing, you need a automation in place. So just imagine with the Windows situation, when we have a Intune, which is automate the software packaging and all the device policies and security and all of that stuff. And also there is a thing called autopilot. So what does that mean? If that we are buying from the suppliers automations, or like a Dell, HP, or Lenovo sort of a situation, they automatically import those devices hash, like a serial number sort of a situation on the portal. And then what happens is automatically get provision. So that those devices, nobody has to touch it. As long as your platform is ready, those devices can come from the supplier, directly go to the employee. So, and then you can reset that, repurpose that to somebody else, all easy. But when you actually just 1 to 10 employee, don't even bother going to that direction. Just think about 16 gig minimum memory. You have a decent speed SSD. You can buy those devices literally anywhere. As long as those devices you can reset, repurpose it, and fast enough to be productive. And Windows 11 Pro, you need that because, like, you can actually put encryptions and all of that feature. You can actually onboard them manually with the Intune. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I this is something that I learned one way. I got a Surface because I'm all Mac, right? And I had a Windows Home Edition, and I was trying to encrypt it, and it wouldn't. It was and then I learned that, right? So I'm sure that there are a lot of people listening to this that got their Windows computer when they were in getting their master's degree, and they got the student edition, right? Because it was cheap, and they got the deal at Best Buy. And so that's something that they need to be aware of. Right?
Yeah, you can still buy from the Best Buy, and as long as, like, typically what happens if you come to the Windows 11, under the hood, people don't realize that Windows 11 Home editions and the Pro edition, they're almost the same. Yes. Only you need to upgrade that with the license, right? Yes. So you just need to pay for. So let's say if you bought this laptop very cheap from the Best Buy, but it's got the Home edition Windows 11. That's fine. You can actually just you can go to the Microsoft Store and just upgrade the license with the Windows XP Pro, and you're good to go. As long as you own Windows 11, have a decent device in terms of the memory and SSD, and the Windows 11 install working, I think you're good.
Okay. And a lot of companies are using iPads, especially for their techs, because all of the apps can be downloaded from the App Store. It's not like they need a ton. They're not doing a lot of processing. So how do you feel about iPads? And specifically, how do you feel about refurbed iPads? Is that safe? Can I go to eBay and buy a bunch of refurbed iPads? Am I okay to do that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, like, when you buy iPad or any kind of device, you need to make sure Apple is, like, the jailbreak, those are the, if it is That's the one thing you actually putting yourself out there, like it's an unknown sort of a situation. So as long as they are not jailbreak, is good. They are not the iCloud locked. That means you can actually have the corporate iCloud attached to that. So those are the three basic things you need to think about. Nothing wrong with buying things from the refurbished stuff.
Okay.
But the problem is most of the refurbished stuff, when somebody return, even the insurance returns and stuff like that, people still have their locked up iCloud account. Somebody actually stolen, they did jailbreak, the multiple people actually got hands on to that already before it's landed into somebody's. Like the wireless, I mentioned that if it is free, there is some issues out there. If you find something ridiculously cheap, I think your intuition will tell you why it is so cheap. Right. So I would just watchful about that.
Okay. And then probably this will be the last question, unless there's anything that you want to add after it. But especially for growers, where they're starting a clinic, everybody wants cameras in their clinic. And so what they want to do with these cameras is they want to be able to watch the sessions. They want to record both audio and video so that they can watch the sessions after the fact. And it may be for multiple reasons, maybe to make sure that there's no abuse going on, maybe just to make program decisions, right? Okay, we're going to change this in the program to better serve this client. And they want to be able to connect to them remotely. So, do you have any advice for someone that wants to install cameras, wants to record video and audio? Because, you get some, 4K cameras, that's a lot of data that you're storing, right? And it has to be stored somewhere. So, do you have any recommendations on that?
Yeah, like we discussed it before, privacy is a big thing, right? And when you actually having something, data, let's call it data, like your camera data is also a data. That's also has a lot of things to it, which is actually we're talking about the PHI or related data. It's looking into that data. So you need to protect that data, backing up that data, make sure these are encrypted and where it is stored, and can you wipe the data as well. So these are the things we need to have that understanding in terms of the infrastructure backend. So you need to speak to someone before actually putting those things in place, because once you put those things, like we talked about, if you're buying a hardware, if it doesn't support encryptions, you literally mean you need to buy a new hardware, right?
Right.
So those are the stuff, some of those gears which you're going to buy. Better to talk to someone who understands those infrastructure, which is needed to support those hardwares, and then you make those decisions. That can be your camera, that can be that can be so many things. That can be a third-party applications also. A lot of people actually just go and buy third-party stuff. Okay, why we need to do this? These other guys can do that, but also that means it's going to connect to your O365. It's going to fetch all of those data which you don't even know at the back end.
Right.
So these are the stuff we need to we need to think about. Anything with the privacy, security, breach related stuff, we just need to talk to someone, understand that better. Maybe some of the stuff need to wait until you become
afford the right infrastructure.
Exactly. We just need to do a bunch of things manually at this point. So this is the stuff. Once you 1 to 10, most probably you can use a ready platform, right? So MFA everywhere, no shared account. Cloud, use the cloud, so you don't need to worry about so much stuff. You have the basic policies in place, encryption in place, devices, and your staff is HIPAA trained. That's basically 10, a 1 to 10. It's basic, but that's you keep it simplified as possible. Let's say then you're going to go, let's call it an up to 50. then you're going to go into a little bit more role-based access. So who is what they're doing and what their job roles means, and then you need to have the onboarding stuff, like that kind of things. So we need to have an audit in place, like a 90 days audit or something, like designated HIPAA security officers. At that point, you need that. Then you need to have the data classifications, what your data traveling, how all of those data are classified or not. You need to have some email security, phishings, and all of that documentations. Any incident, HIPAA-related incident happens, security incident, you need to document that. So these are the stuff like when you go into the 50 zone, right? Then you think about the 50 to 300 zones, right? Then you're talking automation. So like all of that, like onboarding is automated by now. Like we are doing the provisioning, deprovisioning. Then we are getting our admin control much more tighter at this point, those privileged admin controls. Your front desk staff, supervisor, billing, clinical, all of that related permissions will be a different kind of a sort of a situation. Device management is already in place now. You have a separate system to log in and monitoring stuff, like you mentioned, that cameras and all of that stuff. By that time, already big time involved. Quarterly risk assessment going on at that time. Your vendor management programs, all of that stuff, complexity already there. Then you go beyond, and you got 1,000 people or beyond that sort of. Then you talking a proper IT. Like a SIM solutions where all of your data logging goes to the one, you have all the analytic comes from there. So that kind of stuff going on. And you have fully matured identity governance in place. You have all the access review going on. Okay, the guys actually got a access, some sort of thing. At that point, everything automated. This guy actually worked as a front desk. Front desk had bunch of access. Every 2 months, those access review happen. If the manager didn't actually access review by 2 months, all of the access goes away. So this kind of stuff already in place. Your zero trust, that kind of big terms are coming into the picture. In your all of that time, in all of this data which you classified, now you putting hardening based on those classifications. Penetration test at this time will be in place. Compliance automations, evidence gathering, all kind of stuff. This is literally you need to start those. You need to start putting those Lego blocks as you grow, right? You cannot start from the day one, but as you grow, your complexity grows. You need to be productive at the same time, and at the same time, your needs are different. So you need to talk to someone to make sure they draw out that plan from the day one, if possible.
Yeah. But I mean, it's very similar to what I tell people about insurance, right? When you start out, maybe you don't get an umbrella plan. Maybe you don't get EILI insurance because you're not that big. You don't have a whole lot of risk yet, right? But as you grow, you're going to have a way more risk at 10 or at 100 people than you did at 2 people. And so you may grow what insurance coverage you have to prevent, a devastation, right? And I think this is the same thing. It's as you grow, you scale your system to have more checks and balances in place.
Absolutely.
Do you think that, and you brought up penetration
I was going to go there, but I wasn't sure.
So do smaller practices starting up, do we need penetration tests? And if so, what are we going to do a penetration test on and why?
I mean, in terms of the penetration test, if you actually got something solid in place, if you actually have a basic monitoring, which you are doing it at that in a very early stage, because let's say Microsoft, you can do a typical with the Microsoft offers the phishing simulations, right? You can actually do the phishing simulations. If I always recommend my customers, hey, let's do before the Christmas, let's send out those emails, which is we always used to receive that, like a let's impersonate from the internally. Let's see how many people clicking on them.
Right.
So then there's a scope of that. Is also a penetration test, right? And you can see this sign-in logs coming up, and if the people are logging in from the different place, they're not supposed to logging in. Those are the stuff, tools are already there. You don't need to use anything separate. Okay. Penetration test is it's a concept when you actually have so many public endpoints. So you have the website, you have your patient portal, all of the public facing there. You have the database public facing there. You have some API public facing there because you have some of your platform talking to each other. At that point, penetration is must, because you should know before than anybody else what is those loopholes are. But if you are a very small, doing a decent hygiene practice in terms of your security, you don't need to spend too much money on a penetration test. Just have every few months, even by yourself, like educating is a must, like when you're very small. Just even by yourself. That's why they're great with the Microsoft or Google, some of the tools. Like 80% plus, you can do it by yourself. Right. Once you actually set things up, you can talk to someone like me. Hey, I don't need you for every month. How I can actually do certain 1 to 10 things. So first time you're going to do it you're going to hate it, but like after 2 or 3 months, right. I think it will be your muscle memory. I think everybody should be knowing that, right. Everybody should have certain hygiene practice as a muscle memory. They should be doing it, and after that, it's a great, then they are much more IT literate, and it will be easier for someone like me to have a discussion with them, because they are within the ecosystem. Don't need to be expert, but just enough, right?
I feel like you're talking to me right now. Okay. So we don't really need a penetration test if we're using the systems correctly, at least at
Absolutely.
the start. And if you don't have your own system that you've built from the ground up to house PHI. So if you're using Microsoft or Google, or you're using somebody else's practice management software where you have a business associate agreement in place, we don't really need to be doing any penetration tests. Is that what you're?
Absolutely, because as you using their platform, they're most probably doing it already.
They should be doing that.
You need to you need to ask those questions. Okay. This is what exactly I do. When actually somebody choosing a platform at start with, I facilitate those discussions. Hey. Okay. What you guys actually using, what your infrastructure looks like, what your backup looks like. And those guys already know, these guys are talking exactly asking those things, which is typical questions. They will be able to clarify that. Typically what happened, they will have some subscriptions. With a basic subscription, it will allow you certain things, and you almost using a share tenant. If you pay them additional subscription, it will give you some more protections and stuff like that. But it's really difficult for someone from the day one to understand that. So I can clarify, actually help them. Okay, this is what you're going to get. We are fine until that. After that, we can go to the next stage of subscriptions. But they are all good. And it's all good. Asking is that their platform also MFA protected or something like this?
See, this is what I was going to ask you, and I think this is going to get a lot of hate. So if you get a practice management software that's going to house all of your PHI, submit all of your billing, is multi-factor MFA, is that bare bones minimum requirement?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they will be much more than that. But
sure. But if it doesn't have MFA, you should stay away from it. Is that your recommendation?
Yeah, I won't trust a platform if they're saying they're out of the box doesn't support MFA.
Okay.
I will be very I will be thinking myself again what's going on, right? Because how they can actually have their platform also compliant, right? If they actually don't have those basic security in place. MFA is a very, very basic now.
Right.
Like, and it's a very basic enforced. Like we can talk about different version of MFA. That's OTP MFA. OTP right. goes to the email or SMS, or you're going to have the app. App is much more protected. So sometime, like they will say, you need to download our own app. Like you cannot use your own MFA app. It's it's a little bit pain, but like people need to get used to it. But absolutely. MFA is the base at this stage, yeah.
Okay. All right. So there, we'll leave it at that. Send me all the hate mail you want. But I know that there's some practice management softwares out there that people love. They don't have multi-factor authentication. I know that for a fact. So we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe they actually have a different way. They most probably say, okay, MFA. If we actually have a SSO set up with your platform, Microsoft take care of all those.
Single sign-on with Microsoft.
Exactly.
Okay.
When you actually have a single sign-on, so Microsoft taking care of your identity, and we are just fetching the identity via your with the API because we got the SSO set up. What I'm saying is the vendor will have all the answers. And you need to have a trusted partner to join those calls because it is not your expertise area. Like, let's get this guy join this call, and you will say, hey, let him take care of all the technical thing, and I will be able to talk about how much I wanted to pay monthly in terms of the subscription, right? Keep it very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I
think it's like it's part of that. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, totally.
So you know that you don't know.
Right.
That.
Yes.
That's like if I were still in the shoes of being like an ABA, business practice owner, this conversation right here, what my level, which is very small, my level of understanding of this is that, okay, this tells me I need to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I need someone to help me to translate the answers to these questions and know what questions to ask. But it's like, let's get curious. Yeah.
And I think one other thing is just don't trust a website just because it says it's HIPAA compliant, right? Like, exactly. I think that's really important.
And it's the same thing. Like for me, my wife she knows fabric, like she's a nerd. Like her mom used to do, she's into doing some sort of always doing something for kids and stuff like that. And when I buy things, I look at my wife, if she's really approving it, is that she will look at it. Is that the clothes, is that good or bad or something like that? Right. She will tell me, I won't even pay more than $50. I said, I just paid more than that. Like I said, everybody has their own areas of expertise. So you need to put those people in that right place.
That's something that I hadn't even thought about. Right. And I've talked to a lot of HIPAA consultants, and never once did they mention, hey, you really need to have me in on these conversations when you're talking to these people that you're giving all of your data to, right? I think it makes perfect sense that you would. It was not been on my radar. So that was,
thank you for that. And this conversation.
Because these technical guys are not cheap at this stage, That's why.
I know, right? That's the hard part of being a business owner is I'm sure there's people out there right now. They're like, Steven, you're telling me I need an attorney, an accountant, I need a tech guy. I need who's paying for all this? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Nandy, and your expertise in getting the conversation started. And those of you who are listening in want to meet Nandy or have him help you out in some of your situations, you can go to our website and go to our affiliate page, and all of Nandy's information will be there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's already working with some of our customers, and the feedback has been amazing. He's also helping us too. Yeah. And I have nothing but great things to say about you, Nandy.
And I just have to say, one more thing I have to say. So I got the email from Nandy for 3 Squared. I was like making sure that we all had MFA set up through this app and I was like, no, I don't, no. It was like, I don't want to have to deal with this. And I also knew it was a very basic thing, but I was able to respond to him and be like, okay, what? Help me. I don't know. I need more information. And even though he sent like information with how to do it, but you know what? He responded so kindly and was like, sure, let's set up a time. I can walk you through this if you want. And I did not feel judged. And I appreciate that. And I know that's hard to find you know, no matter what, like expert that you're reaching out to. It's really, I think it's also a great thing when you have an expert that knows a lot, who's also humble enough to meet you where you're at, to answer your dumb questions, right? And so I appreciate that. So yeah. All right. Well, everyone listening, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And we can't wait to see you next week.
All right. Talk to you later.